Hi, Eman. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. Just 1 minute. We are starting now. And
I'm going to put my.
sure.
Hello, I'm audible now?
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. Okay, great. Okay, I believe just let me start the recording. People are joining in still. Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Good evening, morning, afternoon, from wherever in the world you are joining from. First of all, we warmly welcome you to this exciting webinar on the business expansion ecosystem in the GCC region that is hosted by Hub of Finance Transformation. And we have with us our special guest speaker, Mr. Ayman Al-Awadi. He's Managing Director of the corporate group based out of in UAE with operations in Saudi Arabia, UK as well. And he will be sharing his insights on based on his more than decades of experience in helping companies in expanding their businesses into this region, especially foreign companies as well. And he will be sharing his all the insights and experience with you guys, particularly in terms in the UAE and the Saudi Arabia market. So we are now live on our YouTube channel, our social media, and LinkedIn. So most of the people are joining from there, and some of our network people who are in our network are joining directly into the Zoom link as well. So those who are here, we would just like to know if you can just drop your name and the country you are joining from in the chat box. So we will come to know from where you are joining and who is with us. If you can just drop in the chat box your name and the country. We have with us, I think, Sayed, Michael, George. If you can just drop your name and country in the chat box. Okay, great. Ahmed only from Egypt. Welcome, Ahmed. Sayed from India, UAE, and KSA, Michael. Okay. So we have from India, from Egypt, from UAE, from Saudi Arabia, people. Okay, from Dubai. Okay, great. Fine. So those who are on our YouTube, I think they will be commenting on the YouTube on our social media. So we will try to get their questions and the comments as well as much as possible. So this is going to be a 1 hour webinar, and if you have any questions during the chat box, please feel free to drop your question in the chat box, and we will try to get as maximum questions from Mr. Ayman during the Q&A session as well. And if you face any technical difficulty, also please just drop your question. Our admin drop your comment, and our admins will take care of it. Okay, so now without further ado, I think we can start now, Ayman. You are the co-host, so if you can start sharing your screen, and the floor is yours now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Zishan, for this opportunity. I'm very much delighted for taking part of this, giving awareness to the audience in terms of business opportunities in the UAE and Saudi, and the understanding the legal landscape and operational landscape when it comes to doing business in the GCC. I will start sharing my screen. Okay, do you see my screen now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, great. So looking forward for excitement session for everybody. And first we start the session here to explore the UAE business landscape. My name is Ayman Awadi from the corporate group. I'm the co-founder and the group managing director. We are based in Dubai, headquartered in Dubai with offices in Abu Dhabi and Riyadh, and also promotional office in London. We focus on attracting foreign direct investment into UAE and enabling them to do business through our wide range of corporate solutions we provide in the GCC. I am very much delighted to walk you through the ecosystem of the GCC here. So therefore, we will spend around about 15 minutes exploring what UAE has to offer in terms of operation and legal landscape. And then we'll have a bit of short of Q&A around this topic before we jump into the next topic, which is tackling Saudi region. Moving forward. So let's talk about business practices in the UAE. The UAE has introduced on 2nd of January, as per first cabinet meeting was led by the Prime Minister of UAE, 5 government priorities of 2023. They are establishing the national identity for the Emirati to be perceived as talented people, and enhancing environment's sustainability. Obviously, we all know that COP28 is going to happen in Dubai. It's going to take place in Expo, and that's a massive conference is going to take place. And therefore, all the sustainability initiatives and ESG practices will be showcased throughout the year and the year onwards. Developing an educational system that is going to reform the way education system it has been for past a number of years, and this actually will enable UAE to take the education system to the next level, to adapt the recent trends and changes taking place in this important sector. Accelerating Emiratization process with the introduction of Ministry of Human Resources of various programs and initiatives in the UAE for the private sector. Emiratization now is becoming the spotlight and the focal point when it comes to hiring employees, and that's because to enable more of engagement of Emirati nationals in the private sector, as they've been quite some time being active in the government sector. With these priorities, they are actually the driving factor for all the projects and the business opportunities that is
I think Evan, you can't hear you. Yeah, there's some issue, I believe, with the technical issue. Okay, maybe some connection issue at his end. Just give us a second. He will be back. Okay, there is some issue with his connection. Just give us 1 to 2 minutes and he will be back. Okay. Okay, just give us 1 minute more. He's on the. I think he's just joining us. There is some, I think, connection breakdown at his end. Okay, back now, I believe. Ayman. Okay, let me make you
Yes.
the host. You can start this sharing. Okay.
Ap- Apologies for the disconnection. Just some malfunction happened, but I'm back on track and I'll share my presentation now. You hear me? I'm audible?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, great, wonderful. So talking about the 5 UAE government priorities of 2023, now jumping over to companies are incorporated in different purposes. Now, let's talk about a glimpse of what we can envision here in terms of having different purposes for setting up company. First, it can be done through a holding company so that where the company can own assets in the mainland. Uh, then second, as an offshore company to own assets outside of UAE. Third, as an investment vehicle to attract investments to projects in the UAE. Fourth, as a regional office, so that you would have an operation within the region. And then fourth or fifth, actually, as an import and re-export company to deliver products in the UAE. And also, in case it is a UAE national, and then you are able to register commercial agency agreement with it. As an operating company in the mainland to deliver the products which we have mentioned as actually earlier, and these are the wide ranges of company the purposes of how the uses of the company to be utilized throughout the setup here in the region, whether it's a free zone company or a mainland company. Now, navigating to legal landscape and the residency options. A foreign investor can conduct business in the UAE via legal entities in the following means: either setting up a local entity, or registering a branch or representative office of a foreign company, or establishing a free zone company, and also or else entering through a commercial agency agreement while being outside of UAE. So therefore, you will appoint an existing entity in the UAE who is applicable for this. And these are the different ways of a foreign investor to engage through a legal setup in the UAE. The residency options here in the UAE are 5 years and 10 years golden visa, which has been introduced during COVID time until today, and it's one of the hottest topics in the country for the expat community. Property investor visa, which has been conventional way of obtaining the residency through property. Retirement visa, it has been a new visa scheme lately been introduced and to be activated, I believe, this year. Partner visa, which is the investor visa, again, is one of those classical and conventional residency options that have been available, attached as part of shareholding scheme of any company. Employment visa, as you know, being employee of any company in the free zone or in the mainland. Family visa, basically where you are sponsoring your house, your spouse, and also family members and so forth. And also a specialist resident visa, which was introduced during COVID time, and this includes special talents and certain professions such as doctors, scientists, and so forth. Student visas, UAE is very much enriched with a number of academia sector throughout the region here in the UAE, especially in Dubai. So all international schools available here, and it encourages the student community to be active here in the UAE with applicable residency visa for the students. Incorporating your business in Dubai, basically some spotlight on the business regulation and taxation. We have 2 jurisdictions to choose from. You have the mainland, and then you have the free zone. So these are 2 legal competing systems that UAE is offering today, which is very unique, and it creates lots of attractions for foreign investments here. In the free zones, you have non-regulated free zones, and you have the regulated free zones. The non-regulated free zones are the wide jurisdictions of the free zones, and the options that are available are vast. The regulated free zones, there are 2 free zones in the UAE which can conduct for financial services, DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center, and Abu Dhabi Global Market, ADGM. These are the only 2 free zones that are allowed to operate financial services within the UAE. In the mainland, we have typical departments that your business would be needing to consider and to understand what who they are and what they do for you in terms of compliancy. Is Department of Economic Development, which is now merged with the Dubai Tourism, and it is called Dubai Economic and Tourism, DET. The Immigration Department, which stands for or has a short code of DNRD, and then Ministry of Human Resources, MOHRI, and other government departments that is applicable according to your business line, based on the business activities. Applicable taxes in the UAE, we have basically here VAT started on Jan 2018, being 5%, and then we have excise tax, which is applied on the goods that is harmful to human and environment, valued at 50% to 100%. And then we have also the latest addition of tax, which is corporate tax in the UAE. It's going to start from June 2023, this year, and it is set at 9% rate for mainland and 0% for free zones, as long as you are doing business within the free zone or outside of the free zone. Outside, meaning that out of UAE. Though executive regulations yet to be released, so that we are waiting for cabinet resolution to be released to translate the law into execution order, and then that's what everybody is looking forward for enhancing all sort of clarifications around the corporate tax in the UAE. Agency and distribution in UAE. Now, one way is to set up a company is through a legal presence. Now, sometimes it is also possible for international businesses who look out to grow and expand within the region, is to consider appointing a distributor or agent, in which there is no need for a legal setup in the UAE, though it requires appointing a distributor or an agent. So let's explore this option together to see what you could do about it, especially if you are in the product industry. Type of agency agreements, there are registered agents and then non-registered agent. When it comes to the registered agent, it is registered with Ministry of Economy. As per, this is in compliance to amended law, Federal Law 1981. In the form of the registered agency, basically you will keep the registration procedure offline, and you will have only a governing contract between yourself as a principal and the local distributor. The agency law protection here, it protects the distributor or the agent in the following way. We have an agent has exclusive right to sell the goods at least in one emirate as a jurisdiction. So you need to appoint at least one jurisdiction if that's the case, and then we have the next one is an agent is entitled to commission for every single product being sold out in the territory, which has been appointed, which has been actually appointed and detailed in the agreement agency. If the agency agreement is fixed for a term, even though if the agency reaches to the end of the expiry, it can carry on the same terms for the year onward. So therefore, it gives that sort of protection of sustainability and continuation of the agency agreement for the local distributor or the agent. Upon death of the agent, it will move. It shall move to heirs of the distributor. So therefore, it passes automatically to the heirs, and that's what happens as per the UAE law. An agent can block an import into the UAE of goods which are subject of their agency arrangement. So an agent has the capability to block any goods that is coming into UAE for the sake of protection to what he is representing as exclusive agency that he has under that agency agreement. Or a principal can generally only exit from an agency agreement whereby both parties, which is very important, mutually agree for the exit, or else there must be a court order to disengage and terminate the agreement. Having said this, to register the agency agreement, we must have exclusive arrangement with. So to know more about about the options that you could appoint a local distributor as under agency agreement, you have to appoint either a UAE national as a person, or a company which is fully owned by shareholders being UAE national, or by UAE public joint stock company with at least 51% owned by UAE national. And as a matter of fact, recent law in the commercial agency law last year have introduced this new scheme where at least 51%, if it is UAE national, then it can own the commercial agency. Unregistered agency shall be enforced under the contract law, under the UAE Federal Civil Code and Commercial Code. So this is where it goes the protection less, because there will be a contractual engagement only without being registered with Ministry of Economy. So you have two options to choose from. Each one has its own pros and cons in terms of the engagement nature. The new commercial agency law comes into force on 15 June 2023. So therefore, it takes 2 years time to, because it has been released 2 years ago, and therefore it takes 2 years time to get in effect. Anybody who came up with agency agreement beyond this date, then it basically falls into the parameters of the new law under the commercial agency law. Some updates we'd like to share with you here. As part of amortization in the private sector, they have launched, Ministry of Human Resources, MOHRI, have launched an online program called NAFIS. It's to create this and support Emiratis in the private sector and help them to join in the private sector. And this is really to build the new generation of talented Emirati nationals and back them up with required soft skills, so that when they graduate from university, they are all ready to join the private sector. All employers with more than 50 employees, talented Emirati nationals, are actually mandated to annually raise their amortization rate by 2%. So here, what we want to say is that any company who is beyond 50 employees, then you have to maintain a ratio of 2% of overall skilled workers being Emirati. Effective from January this year, companies in the private sector must apply the following scheme. So we have 50 skills. The minimum target to recruit is 1 Emirati. If it is between 51 to 100, the minimum target is 2 Emiratis, and then 101 to 150 is 3 Emiratis, and then the rest, it will be according to this slab system that I'm displaying. Applied for companies, and this is applied for the companies which is in the mainland. So the private sector, again, the amortization plan, it's only applied in the mainland companies who are registered with Ministry of Human Resources. MOHRI defines skills workers as an employee who fulfills any of the following qualifications. So they have to have a certificate of higher than the secondary or equivalent to the secondary. They need to have a certificate that has attestation by a competent authority, so it has to be attested also. And also a salary minimum is 4,000 per month. And then to be under the following categories, whether they are managerial or writing professionals, or professionals in technical, scientific, and human fields, and technicians in technical, scientific, and humanitarian fields, or else service and sales occupants. So these are the groups and the categorization of what it is deemed to be skilled workers, where the Emiratis, they're supposed to secure their job in these categories. And that's where the MOHRI will account them as 1 Emirati being onboarded in order for the amortization plan to kick off. Starting from January this year, companies who fail to comply will receive penalties, and we already have seen in the UAE local market some number of companies, they have been penalized because they could not meet the target by the deadline. So a fine of 6,000 per month for each UAE national is not employed, and that is going to be for the 12 months period, and then reimbursed to you once you comply to the requirements, and that's what already happened with a number of companies that we are in touch with. I hope with this I give you a glimpse of how doing business in Dubai versus the legal structure and the landscape, and ending with the latest updates that it's tackling the UAE market in terms of compliancy, employment, and amortization plan. And these are the set of requirements that everybody or every business should be aware of, whether you're operating in mainland or in free zone. I'll give the floor for a short Q&A interaction, and then before we jump into opening a new chapter for Saudi. Over to you, Zishan.
Thank you very much, Ayman, for sharing all the insights and latest updates. That are really useful for companies, especially who are planning to expand into the UAE region. So, a couple of questions. I think, and also our audience who are here, if you have any question, please drop your question in the chat box. And there is one question that always arises. Very common question is, as you mentioned in your presentation, regarding the free zone and the mainland. So, if you can just highlight, like, what are the pros and cons of both, and how to choose between these two, mainland and the free zones? Yeah.
Okay. As a matter of fact, the UAE is offering competing legal systems to choose from. While it has an advantage of giving you options, it's sometimes confusing because there are two jurisdictions to conduct your business, and sometimes it's very difficult to understand which one to go with, especially with the growing number of free zones in Dubai. I would say that always tackle the subject based on where is your customer base, where is your client base that you would like to deliver your services and product. If your client base and are outside of UAE, then that means the free zone is a suitable jurisdictions for your setup. And if it is in the UAE, then basically UAE is the jurisdiction, which means the mainland. Now, in the free zone, there are a wide range of free zones, around 35 free zones in Dubai itself. So to keep it simple and short, all free zones, they operate in a similar infrastructure. They give you the license, they give you the residency, and they give you the property. They are different in terms of business parks. So you have a business park for the science, which is called Dubai Science Park. You have a business park for media, which is Dubai Media City. You have a business park for health sector, which is Dubai Health Care City. So there are different business parks for different businesses, and that's where you can consider which business park is most ideal to choose from. Also, selective of the free zones, they have a physical boundary, which is very suitable for product-based companies, such as Jebel Ali Free Zone and Dubai Airport Free Zone and Dubai World Central. So these free zones, they basically have customs clearance procedure, and because they are situated either at the seaport or airport, so therefore they are very easy access to for the logistics formalities. Though majority of all other free zones, they are virtually available within the city, and therefore you don't feel you are leaving the free zone in terms of the typical conventional free zone, which is bounded free zone. With the introduction of corporate tax, it created a significant need to differentiate and segregate your business and your client base, whereby some businesses now they have to make their final call where if they are maintaining a free zone company, they've been doing business with the mainland, they're supposed to separate their line of business in terms of revenue. So therefore, they might end up having one company dedicated for free zone operation and one company dedicated for the mainland, operation. Because of the corporate tax, these reforms of the way you do business, it's going to be crucial. So therefore, it's very important and imperative that building the right infrastructure in the beginning and the right foundation for your company, knowing where is your customer base and the growth, and then accordingly you select the best jurisdictions and the suitable legal structure with the business activity that resembles your business.
Okay, that's great. I think, yeah, the both have their pros and cons, exactly. And there is a question from the audience in the chat box. I can see from Khalid. Are there any special grants available for R&D, like research and development, in pharma, and for setting up a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in the UAE?
When it comes to manufacturing plant, Jebel Ali Free Zone is one of ideal locations to choose from because they have different setup in terms of warehousing and plant operation. So therefore, they give you that sort of single window operation to deal with the authority and go through approval processes, and they even give you they do have financing options for projects like this. So it all depends on how to go about it, but obviously such big projects like this, it goes through a committee for approvals, and then from approval, once approval is granted, then you will go through the licensing formalities with JABZA. And there are enormous number of enormous of these sectors or these companies are actually operating from JABZA, including Roche, for example, and leading healthcare or medical equipments and products who are globally operational, and they have their regional headquarters in JABZA, including manufacturing plants. You're muted, Zishan.
Okay. And regarding R&D, is there any grants or some available by the government or any
the grants? The grants, there are few organizations who are equipped with budget to put initiatives for the R&D into place. I recall one of them is Telecom Regulation Authority. They have R&D fund that they are allocating for the tech-based companies, that they will fund you up to certain levels and certain amount. So there are few government grants as a program is available both in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi that focusing on certain sectors. In Abu Dhabi, for example, they focus on agri-tech and other advanced tech sectors. So therefore, it all depends on the appetite or the budget allocation that they have for these subjects. So for I remember during the COVID, the focus was more on food security. So therefore, anything of R&D on food security was very much welcomed, such as vertical farming and sustainability of resources, producing. I hear also there was a very novel project which is plant-based meat, manufacturing plant, which they did it here in UAE, and the group called IFCO Group, and they've been funded by Abu Dhabi government, and they're now operating here and selling their products in various retail shops such as Spinis. They are selling meat which is based on plant meat, not animal meat. So therefore, these are some of novel projects that is coming into UAE under the food security program.
Great. And I think there is one more question on the social media I can see. Then before we move on to the Saudi Arabia section,
Yeah.
regarding the startups, because there are many startups. The rise of startups in this region, especially UAE. So, is there any platform or any support available, or maybe obviously I think the corporate group itself providing incubation centers. So, what type of support a startup can get if any new idea comes in and they want to
Yeah.
launch the UAE?
Dubai now has been very active in the startup ecosystem. As a matter of fact, it has been ranked now as second after Israel, after Tel Aviv, when it comes to maturity of ecosystem of startups. Therefore, today is very easy to see accelerators, business incubators, venture capital, angel investors, and a wide range of these players who are filling up the ecosystem and bringing that sort of experience to these startups that they are operated, and because of that, the region is really thriving when it comes to startup, because UAE and especially Dubai is now leading in terms of acquiring funds, is actually doing better than the status in Saudi. But having said this, because of the enormous number of accelerators and also incubators, these accelerators and incubators can be run through free zone or non-free zone facilities. So therefore, they are having their own funding program and their support. So you have Astrolab in DMCC, you have N5 in TCOM, you have FinTech Hive, which is for FinTech solutions in DIFC, and you have DTech in Dubai Silicon Oasis Authority. So every free zone now, they have their own incubation platform, and then they have their own different programs and initiatives that they will try to support these startups to tackle the opportunities in the market and then grow in the region.
Okay, that's great. Fine. I think we can move on to the next section, and then we can have another break for the Q&A. Amen.
Okay. Shall I move on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. So now let's tap on Saudi and discover Saudi what it's offering us of opportunities. Saudi at glance, I thought to open up the horizon for you in terms of what Saudi is all about. The GDP closed on 2022 on 950 billion, reaching the 1 trillion threshold, comparing to 2021 being 833. Saudi Arabia annual GDP growth on 2021 was 3.2%, while it has been showing constant growth quarter by quarter or year by year on 8% in the last 2 quarters. Now, the figures of 2022 GDP, I think, is recently published. So you could see the growth rate from 3.2%, it became higher than that in the 2022. Saudi Arabia population is 36 million. So it's good to know it's 3 times, it's more than 3 times UAE population. Saudi Arabia land is around 2.1 million square kilometer, which has a massive landscape here, and the north is completely different than the south in terms of geography, weather, and so forth. So therefore, this is what Saudi is all about in terms of diversity in, of climate and geography. Inflows FDI to Saudi reported 20 billion US dollar on 2021, and it is expected to reach 100 billion because of Vision 2030, which I will be tapping more details about it on the next slides. Annual inflation rate is close to 3.3% by December 22. And this is one of the reasons that we will tackle later on in terms of the inflation rate could be a risk factor for some of business, but Saudi is really opening up its arm and welcoming all businesses to take part of the economic growth in Saudi. Saudi Arabia is divided to 13 provinces. Each province has a governor, deputy governor, and provincial council. So as in UAE, we have 7 cities or 7 emirates. Over Saudi, they have 13 provinces. And then in each province or state, it has a capital or main city within that province. The calendar, weekend and working hours, we would like to highlight so that we don't mix it up between what UAE and Saudi has. Islamic calendar Hijri is the official calendar in Saudi, and it's based on lunar year with 12 months. It's around 11 days shorter than the English calendar. Friday and Saturday are weekends. So be aware, Friday and Saturday are weekends. Unlike in UAE, now they switched into the new weekend scheme, which is Saturday and Sunday. Government offices from 7:30 to 2:30, and private sector is 8 to 6 p.m. It's run about the same what we have here in UAE. Legal system is Sharia, of course. Sharia is for Islamic law, and new arbitration law was issued by 2012, followed with enhancements on 2013 to govern the commercial arbitration cases. Thus, the Saudi Center of Commercial Arbitration was formed. So this is where the legal reform starts shaping up since then by introducing arbitration center to manage commercial disputes in Saudi. There are more than 2 million establishments in private sector itself as of 2021, in which Riyadh province has the share of 33%, and Mecca province have 19%. So this gives you a bit of understanding in terms of the size and the volume of the companies being operating in the private sector, which is registered with Ministry of Economy. Number of workers in Saudi Arabia, private sector is 8.5 million by end of 2021, of which expats accounted around 77% of total workforce, of which 89% are male. So as you can see, it's dominant economy for male, though a lot of female are now coming to the private sector and seeking for job. Saudi Vision 2030. Similarly to what we have indicated in the UAE with regards of the government 5 priorities in 2023, Saudi also, they have their own vision up to 2030, and that is to build on a several economic and financial reform to diversify economy and move from the oil producing countries to an economy that can be on sustainable mode. So to enhance the local content, it increases to increase the national industry and launching, developing promising economic sectors, and also maximizing role of private sector and SMEs. Enhancing sustainability of public financing. And these are all type of reforms that it's going to happen across all layers of the economy. Vision 2030 is built around three themes: vibrant society, thriving economy, and not least ambitious nation. So these are the three pillars of what Vision 2030. So again, these visions are the driving factor of all business opportunities and projects that you can see is happening on the land of Saudi, and that's where we all supposed to be there in terms of tapping on these opportunities and be successful in that journey, depending on what sort of business you do in service or product sectors. Some of Vision 2030 goals increase household spending on cultural and entertainment activities inside the kingdom from the current level of 2.9 to 6%. So this gives you clear indication that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is looking to activate the local population engagement in the local economy. So they would like to have more people locally to go for entertainment, for amusement, and for leisure. And these are the projects. The upcoming slides will show you or will showcase these details accordingly. To increase SME contribution to the GDP from 20% to 35% through Vision 2030, and to move from current position as of 19th largest economy in the world into top 15, and also to increase foreign direct investment from 3.8% to international level of 5.7. So again, Saudi would like to stand tall in terms of international standards and benchmarking to the international standards, and that's where they would like to be rated at 6% contribution into the GDP. Maybe perhaps everybody heard about giga projects. So we have heard about mega projects, but giga projects is something, a new phenomena is happening in Saudi. There are 6 ambitious landmark projects being developed in Saudi Arabia and aiming to help transform the economy while showing the world what Saudi's heritage and nation's geographic wealth is all about. And these are these projects that you can see: NEOM, Amala, Red Sea project, and Qadiyah. These are really giant projects that is challenging the construction industry, the architects, and the sustainability and the environment in terms of environment sustainability. So all these projects are taking place already and are massive opportunities where it will take the country to the next level through these showcasing projects. Through now business licensing in Saudi Arabia, there is through Ministry of Commerce and Investments, or which is all business activities are allowed. So here under MUSI, it is basically the platform for full foreign ownership. So when the structure is full foreign ownership, you need to register under MUSI, and allowed for Saudi and GCC nationals to conduct a business under individual or corporate names. So what I would like to say is that Ministry of Commerce is basically the conventional Department of Economy. So if I would like to equal it to the conventional economic department, whereby it's the foundation of the Ministry of Economy, where the licensing issuing takes place, and this is where you can actually register the classical shareholding structure of Saudis and GCC. Common legal structure as is similar to here: establishment, partnership, joint stock company, or limited liability company and non-profit organizations, and also GCC owned branch offices. The license can be hosted in a license hosted in licenses of business centers, that is lowest space size will be 9 square meter. So again, you can operate as low as 9 square meter when you have a license over there. And in Saudi, they have a term calling it CR, which is commercial register. So it's very widely known as a CR. And common license types are commercial license, service license, industrial license, and license for scientific and technical office, which is equivalent to what UAE has in terms of RIC office. The Royal Ministry of Investment of Saudi Arabia, MISA, this is the platform where you will own as full foreign ownership. So this is the next evolution that Saudi has provided in terms of structure. So some restrictions on business activities are applied here, as it is not very much open for all business activities, allowing full foreign ownership or mixed ownership, because you can have a 20%, 80%, for example, whereby you appoint a local partner being minority shareholder. Legal structure as per above setups, plus the branch of foreign company and single owner LLC these are common structures that is available under MISA. Has high fees to maintain the license structure because of the concept of operating under single window operation and talking only to one authority rather than talking to multiple authorities. And the cost of these licenses are approximated between 60 to 70,000 riyals annually. Some of authorities that your business should be affiliated are Ministry of Labor, GCC, Zakat Tax Authority, which is ZATCA, Federal Saudi Chambers, for example, Saudi Post, Ministry of Municipal and Rural Affairs, and Munshaat, which is equivalent to Dubai SME here, where they take care of registering your business as an SME organization. Jumping into the managing the employment in Saudi, it's something that is very crucial and important to understand. As you set up your business over there, then the next question would be, what's my option for sourcing employees and how I can go about it? So these two slides that I have is to talk in general about Saudization in the private sector. Nitaqat is an initiative name that is implemented by Ministry of Human Resource Social Development, MHRSD, whereby they mandate Saudi companies to hire Saudi nationals on a quota basis. So therefore, they are the equivalent to the amortization plan or initiative, which the UAE has been offering, and this is the same. Saudi is doing it under a brand name called Nitaqat. Nitaqat means scheme or categories. Nitaqat objectives is to encourage the private sector to hire the Saudi national and then push and thus reducing the unemployment rate, and also increasing the share of their participation in the private sector. So through involvement of the Saudi nationals in the private sector, it will enable these advantages to come into place. Nitaqat has gone through a number of updates and reforms, and the latest one is as per December 21. And that's very important to know, because as a matter of fact, every 3 months to 6 months, Nitaqat is going through massive changes in terms of adapting certain practices and policies, and therefore it's very important to look after what is the latest information under the Nitaqat. Nitaqat works by classifying entity based on two main factors. We have the business activities group and the business activity name, which has to be considered, and then also have to consider the number of employees. With these together, Nataqat will be applying the applicable ratio, as we can see here on the next slide. MHRSD would only count an employee Saudi where his salary is based at set at minimum of 4,000 riyal, even though the law does not mandate for any indication of a salary amount. But however, Nataqat will only recognize if a Saudi hired at 4,000 minimum as a monthly salary, then will consider as one quota being hired as a Saudi national. Having said this, on the other side, if you hire a Saudi national who is salary is less than 4,000, then it will consider as if you have hired half Saudi. And then on the contrary, also, if you hire and secure a job or employment for handicap or special needs people with the Saudi national, they will you will end up having 4 quota given to you. So which means one person gives you as if you have hired 4 people. So these are the different calculation around what to go about it when it comes to the salary remuneration. Nataqat is also available here through an interactive guide you can see in the website, and it will give you an understanding in terms of how is the guideline is taking you from step to step, which is easy to follow. And I will share the details with you afterwards so that you can visit these links in your free time. Understanding the Sawadization in the private sector, here, as we can see, there are these color schemes that is available for you to understand. So therefore, you start, as a matter of fact, when you start a business, when you do the registration of your company with the Ministry of Human Resource and Social Development, you will go a similar procedure to what you go through here in the UAE, such as establishment card. So you first, register your entity to have its profile established with the Ministry of Human Resource and Development. And once you do that, you have to hire the Saudi as first candidate. And once you are hired, you will be labeled in one of these 3 green shades. And then after 3 months, you will be re-evaluated in order to ensure that the Saudi is still serving in the company. And then accordingly, you will get a permanent coloring scheme for the first year. And every year, the coloring scheme changes depending on what sort of candidates you have hired and onboarded them, that they are recognized, hopefully, under the Sawadization plan. So these are the different categories that you will see, and obviously you should not be labeled as red, but and the lowest scheme that you should be labeled is low green, and going onward. Some of the government portals for the employment for the employees services, Qiwa is the main online platform for all Ministry of Human Resources and Development to services. So basically, you have the ministry, and the ministry has the online platform, and the online platform is the service provider for you, where you can acquire new visas, renew visas, terminate visas, and so forth. And Koa.sa is the main website. The other website, which is also important, is Mudad. Mudad is basically the online portal for employees' wage protection system. This actually, as a matter of fact, make us to remind about wage protection system (WPS) in UAE. In fact, I have noticed very much similarity between what UAE has built as a system within the Ministry of Human Resources and what Saudi has actually adapted almost similar system, but with certain variation that fits the environment of Saudi. So therefore, Mudad, if I would like to rename it, I would be labeling it as a WPS wage protection system in which you can do two things through this platform. One is that it offers labor contract attestation and authentication, and also it does for you a payroll processing and management. Muqim is the online portal for all residency and immigration related to services provided by Ministry of Interior. In other words, Muqim is equivalent to DNRD, which we are used to here in Dubai, which is the Immigration Department. Having said this, they have their own platform that you can log in and you can renew your visa or get approvals and do a certain amount of checks in order for you to maintain a valid residency in Saudi. And this is something that is also very important to understand. These government portals where everything now is available over the online, but however, the counter style is still available in order for you to visit them at your own convenience and time. With this, I have tried to blend in the corporate and business setup structure in Saudi as a landscape, legal and operational landscape, with the mixture of employment and how to go about it in the Saudi country, in the Saudi territory, and therefore you will understand in terms of running your business or setting up your business and running your business through resources that you should be able to cultivate and then comply to the local rules and regulation that is available in Saudi, and that is going to happen through Sawadization program and the Nitaqat program, as I have shown it to you in the slides. With this, I have concluded this session for the Saudi, and I'm happy to open the question or to open the floor for question and answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Ayman. And I think really the great insights you shared and the latest updates. So I can see there is some question in the chat box. Just to see if there is a question. Okay. Let me check if there are more questions or okay. So the first question about digitization, Ayman, as you mentioned, Saudi government is gearing toward digitalization of the services. So many people who are living outside Saudi Arabia, is there a way to deal with those services online? Like they can set up a company by residing outside KSA, and how it works? If you can shed some.
Yes, that's very good question actually, because there is a bit of challenge. Even though it is online services, though you need to have a form of presence in Saudi, which I will explain to you, because that's what's not written as a practice, but you need to know about it. I will go one step backward. Let's look into the days where we used to do business in a conventional way and non-digital. Then the government started putting their services on digital platforms, to enable convenience and ease of access to these services. Then we faced another issue is that while these services being online, the government show significant challenge because of hacking issues and penetration issues in their network and data breach and data security issues. So, and that's because obviously there was no security measure was put in place to reduce these kind of, or mitigate these kind of risk, if not to, nullify it. Having said this, we have seen a certain amount of trends happening in the region. One of them, they introduced, for example, OTP concept, sending messages to verify that you are the owner of the account, whether it's through email verification or SMS verification. What is true, and as a matter of fact, in Saudi, basically they are relying heavily on SMS, OTP, and SMS, notification. Now, what we have, what I would like to advise the audience out there is that it is not possible to use international number to register against these online services as a username and password using your international number, because of obvious reason is that their SMS gateway server does not handle international number. So in this case, it means that you need to apply a Saudi number as a local number and then register it throughout the username and password registration. And once you obtain, then then you can run the OTP, and then you will receive it on your local number in Saudi, and then that's how you will issue the OTP, and then you will plug it to log in and continue the range of your services. Now, if you happen to be outside of UAE, outside of Saudi, and you have a Saudi number, then you need to make sure 100% that the phone can be operational outside of of Saudi. Otherwise, you will have an issue not receiving OTP. And because you cannot receive an OTP, you cannot fulfill the parameter of continuing the journey of logging online and then executing these transactions. And this is one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of people they face who are actually outside of Saudi, and they never thought about it, or they don't have a mechanism to cover it in a proper way.
Okay, that's really, I think, a great option advice that you mentioned to avail these services. There are actually many questions. I think just to take some of them. For Saudi, question from Sayed. Which one is the best business setup option to provide heavy equipment rentals, sale, and spare parts supply in Saudi Arabia?
In Saudi, as a matter of fact, comparing across all business activities and license types, when it comes to expat ownership or foreign ownership of the business, whether you are full foreign ownership or partial, it is very difficult to tackle the trading businesses, as the trading businesses subject to heavy working capital, which is around 27 to 30 million riyal. And you have to show evidence that you have made a deposit. So it's not just indication in the memorandum of association, but rather to show evidence, and it will allow 12 months of grace period for you to demonstrate such capability that you have injected the capital into the bank account in Saudi, and that can be also driven by your operation and revenue to hit targets of 300 million in next 3 years or 5 years. So therefore, the trading business in Saudi is pretty much not amusing or not convenient for the full foreign ownership structure because of these heavy requirements to comply when it comes to working capital. Though for service industry, such as service license does not require a capital amount and does not require a local partner to be involved. So you can fully own the business. I heard you saying repair and maintenance. So therefore, this falls under the service category. But the way it works is that the business activity has to be selected, and then from that business activity, we map it to the shareholding structure, and then the shareholding structure, we continue the journey all the way to issue the CR.
Okay, it's great. And another question is about the ecosystem for the startups or sustainability initiatives in Saudi Arabia. Is there any platform or ecosystem available?
Throughout our operation in Saudi, I have noticed that there are similar ecosystems in Saudi that is being operational before COVID and even during COVID and after. So therefore, it's getting there. The accelerators and business incubators are getting there, though they are not quality as in what you see in Dubai or in the UAE. And the reason is obviously the market is putting its strength together and putting its knowledge and know-how to bring what's out there in the global market and try to bring it into the local market and enhance the experience and the exposure of startups locally. And that's going to be a long process actually until it reaches to a maturity level where they are able. However, the purchase power behind Saudi and the startups, they are significant, or they are big enough because of the funding appetite that is coming from different investor portfolio or investor categories who are willing to fund these projects of Saudi nationals and expat, being men or women who are living in Saudi, and they are taking chance under their entrepreneurship skills to turn it into a business opportunity.
Okay, that's great. And one last question we can take is, where are the free zones in Saudi Arabia?
There is one free zone that is under development, and it is called logistics free zone. It is north east of Riyadh city of Riyadh of King Fahd International Airport. It is phased as a phase one, so it is operational now as of speaking, and they are providing certain type of licenses that is for logistics and also for packaging, and it would be a suitable options for e-commerce module, though it's very brand new in terms of entity and in terms of organization, so it has a potential to grow, and we can see adaptation of certain industries and businesses to come to the region, but this year I think it will be more of exploration year for everybody to understand why that free zone it could be the option to choose from.
Okay, that's great. And one last question, I think that is very common, is if there is an office in the UAE, any company operating in UAE, can they open a branch in the Saudi, and how easy it is to open a branch of like this?
Yes. Recently, they made it a bit easier to set up as a branch from, let's say, from UAE, and they just need to mandate you to have a track record of 3 years operation in UAE, and then be able to qualified and open a subsidiary owned by the Dubai, or it's a branch of the Dubai, and to establish it in Saudi. So these options is there. It became relaxed options these nowadays, but before it was more difficult to operate and go about it. However, now it is under control, and there is no much significant capital that you need to deposit, such as the trade license in that case.
Okay, that's great. And the capital requirement is also not there, right? As mentioned.
Yes, yes. As long as it's a service license based, then capital is not required. If it is if it is trading activities, then we go back to the trading compliance, which is the 27 to 30 million.
Okay, fine. I think so. We are already over time, but thank you, Ayman, for your extra time as well.
Sure.
So just before we conclude, I believe for the corporate group is providing a comprehensive range of services in Saudi Arabia as well as in UAE with its head office in UAE. So if you can just give a quick overview of how the corporate group can help our audience.
Yes, we actually attract all companies, being startups and corporates across all business sectors, to help them to establish their presence, their legal presence in UAE and Saudi, and through our solutions, and we have innovative solutions where we can structure a solution for you when you are not ready for embarking on a legal setup. And so if you would like to explore the market and go about business development activities and generate pipeline or cultivate leads and turn opportunities into projects, during that time, we can secure your engagement in our business incubation facility in UAE, and also the same, we can do it in Saudi. Then we have the legal setup that we can take care of for you, and then post-legal setup in terms of compliancy across all ranges of services. We also have the trading division that is responsible for Horeca industry. So we do trade shows in UAE, Saudi, and Oman, for example, and even North Africa. And we can carry on these products with us, and then provide you co-hosting facility and incubation within our facilities. So these are some of business lines that we cover through three verticals: services, consultancy, and trading.
Okay, that's great. I think that's really a wide range of services under the one roof. I think if anyone want to expand their business, so we will share the details of Mr. Ayman and this contact details over the email. So if you guys have any further questions, you can directly reach out to them for regarding your any inquiry for your business expansion or business setup in UAE as well as in Saudi Arabia. So with that, I think we now reach to the conclusion of this webinar. Thank you all the audience, all who are on our social media channel as well. Thank you for your time, and a special thank to Ayman for your sharing great insights and updates on UAE and Saudi Arabia market.
Sure. It's my pleasure to take part of this webinar, and looking forward for next opportunities.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
Have a nice day.